KFM.
You are listening to KFM live on the FM dial 95.5.
95.5.
You yearn for great entertainment, and now it's here. On 95.5.
95.5. You are listening to KFM.
Only question is, are you ready?
KFM live on the FM dial 95.5.
The KFM News. The KFM News. The KFM News. News. If it matters to you, it matters to us.
Good afternoon, welcome to the KFM Lunchtime News on K95.5 and on our streaming platforms, Facebook and YouTube. To present it, I'm Jack Mapembulo. We take a look at the top stories. Former President Edgar Lungu condemns police action in stopping Kasempa residents mining gold illegally. Mushpash Ward Councillor happy with progress on the Kabunda Chipya Matanda Road construction. A consent judgment has awarded UPND member Martha Mushpe 2 million kwacha from the state. In international news headlines, Bangladesh parliament dissolved after PM Sheikh Hasina's shock exit. And in sports, Diana Chikotesha selected to officiate the Paris 2024 Women's Olympic Football semi-final.
News. If it matters to you, it matters to us.
And now the news in detail. Former President Edgar Lungu has condemned the action of government and law enforcement in stopping Kasempa residents who have been mining gold illegally. In a Facebook post, the 60th president described the use of live ammunition on unarmed residents trying to make a living on the recently discovered gold deposits in their locality as an act of grotesque violation of human rights. He has condemned the use of maximum force by the security wings in stopping the people from mining. President Lungu has since called upon the Human Rights Commission to investigate the continued abuse of citizens by the police, whose responsibility is to preserve and protect the lives and the property of the people on their property. He has since called on the Zambia police to uphold the rule of law, exercise restraint, and be guided by principles of justice, fairness, professionalism, and respect for human dignity and life as they discharge their duties. Mr. Lungu notes that the police have in many instances miscarried their duties at the time he was president, but the brutality must be condemned and brought to a stop. Videos and pictures have emerged from Kasempa showing scenes of chaos, brutality, and bloodshed against residents, with some suspected to have died. Mushpash Ward Councillor James Mabo has expressed happiness at the progress made in the construction of the Kabunda Chipya Matanda Road. In a statement to KFM News, Mabo says the contractor has so far graded 21 kilometers of the road to Chibwa and is expected to begin gathering and working on the drainages as areas next week. Mabo expressed satisfaction with the quality of work done so far, stating that it is meeting his expectations and those of the residents in the area. He reassured residents of Matanda and surrounding areas that the entire road would be improved significantly to ease the movement of people and goods to and from the area.
TPRD bakontractor n'abaseba kufika kuli 21 kilometers okukuma ku batabisire pamizo mai apa turerolera musebo okwamba kupitira okuya kuchimbwa kuli makonde kuyafika mu Manzariva ero bakontractor next week baratampa okubika nomba gravel nangula okusama otusakala bwe tupate musebo inga kosa bwino abantu beso bakitama kwebo balenda mu bwino na ambulance yakuse mu kusenda bana mala balipa bukulu n'ababeere kile pita mu bwino kwati nga fika bwangu ku kipatala kya Masaka General Hospital kija bakola kusagala byo nomba amani kulabika bwino emifolo eri yakufumya mesho musebo kutwala kumpange itali ifi emirimu irenda mukwaye irenda fyo bwino muri panono prayer tulesera.
Village Headman Chongola of Manza has expressed concern over the lack of development in the community and surrounding areas. In an interview with KFM News, the traditional leader highlighted the absence of basic infrastructure, including a polling station in villages such as Dasenama and Shipeshe. Headman Chongola explained that during past elections, residents had to walk long distances to the nearest polling station in Kapiata. He said this discouraged many from exercising their right to vote. So the country prepares for the 2026 general elections. The headman has urged authorities to establish a polling station in his village to enhance voter participation.
Kaputula, Madipa, Dasenama, na Shipeshe, nemiti indi ishungukire, ula ntanshi walishuka, abantu bandi, banisa ya kusala, baya, pakati ya polling station. Kuna wa bandi baya, kulisete, mumitero wa, umurense district, amtila ya muri intende, yekire muwati nambi. Eyo, isa kusangira kwa yekatana. Abantu baratirwa kukumanisha usalira kuntende baba ekyobeera kuntende ky'abanaabo nomba okuya ntanshi kumakansera eti balete tanshi balongo okuti balatereko kuntende yaabo ako okusala kwa mu 2026 takulatika.
The Lusaka headquarters entered in a consent judgment ordering the state to compensate the UPND member and legal practitioner Martha Mushipe over 2 million kwacha for false imprisonment and malicious prosecution. This comes despite the Attorney General Muliro Kabesha previously arguing that Ms. Mushipe was not entitled to compensation. Ms. Mushipe had sued the state demanding over 4 million kwacha for false imprisonment and malicious prosecution for the offense of seditious practices. Her demands included 1,500,000 kwacha for pain and suffering, 2,880,000 kwacha for loss of business, and 740,000 kwacha for damaged property during a police search at her law firm Mushipe and Associates. Patriotic Front Vice President Given Lubinda has called on the police to swiftly clarify the alleged escape of Petauke Central Independent Member of Parliament Emmanuel J. Banda from law of custody. Mr. Lubinda has also expressed grave concern at the rise in abductions and violence against political leaders in the country, urging the police to ensure swift investigations and uphold democratic principles that protect citizens' political rights. He says the nation has over the last few months witnessed incidences of abductions of leaders and has created fear in citizens. Lubinda notes that the first to be abducted was Honorable J.J. Banda, and then the IBA Director General Guntila Muleya was later discovered brutally murdered. The PF Vice President wondered what was going on in the country. Government has increased the Sustainable Agriculture Finance Facility SAFF loan from 70,000 kwacha to 500,000 kwacha. Agriculture Minister Ruben Mutolo says this is meant to enhance farmers' crop production to improve their livelihoods. Mr. Mutolo has urged farmers to adapt to climate change to enable them be prepared for changes in weather patterns. And Mr. Mutolo has advised farmers under the Farmer Input Support Program to continue selling their maize to the Food Reserve Agency, FRA. He said this during the Farmers' Day celebrations where various farmers were awarded at the just ended Agriculture and Commercial Show. The Zambia Institute for Policy Analysis and Research, ZIPA, says Zambia's economic outlook for the fourth quarter of 2024 will remain challenging, primarily influenced by the effects of climate change and insufficient energy production. In an interview with Phoenix News, ZIPA Executive Director Zali Chikuba said the economy is not expected to perform well towards the end of the year in various sectors, including manufacturing and transportation, which are anticipated to slow down due to increased costs and reduced energy availability. Mr. Chikuba says overall economic growth is projected to hover around 2%, with the possibility of a further decline if conditions do not improve, and suggests the need for Zambia to leverage its agricultural potential, particularly in grain production, to economic resiliency. He has observed that Zambia has a competitive advantage, substantial freshwater bodies for fish and crop production. Mr. Chikuba explains that it is time the country moved from 3 million metric tons to potentially 10 million metric tons of maize output as part of a broader strategy to enhance security and export value-added products like maize meal. Before we take a look on the international news, a recap on the local news headlines. Former President Edgar Lungu condemns police action in stopping Kasempa residents mining gold illegally. Mushipashi Ward Councillor happy with progress on the Kabunda Chipya Matanda Road construction. A consent judgment has awarded UPND member Martha Mushipe 2 million kwacha from the state. Coming up in international news and sports, Bangladesh parliament dissolved after Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's shock exit. And in sports, Diana Chikotesha selected to officiate the Paris 2024 Women's Olympic football semi-finals.
The Curtin News. If it matters to you, it matters to us.
Bangladesh is waiting to see what unfolds the day after Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina resigned and fled the country. Parliament was dissolved on Tuesday, a key demand of student protest leaders who have also said they will not accept a military-led government. The country's army chief has promised an interim government and said the new elections will be announced. Huge crowds stormed Hasina's official residence in Dhaka on Monday, and there was looting and disorder in the capital, resulting in the deaths of more than 100 people, overtaking Sunday as the deadliest day of violence. Hasina is in India, but it is unclear where she might end up more permanently. The student protest began in July with calls to abolish civil service job quotas, but spiraled into demands for Hasina to quit after 15 years in power. Police arrested 14 Ugandan opposition officials and supporters on Monday as they marched through their capital towards the Kenyan embassy to protest against Nairobi's decision to detain and deport a group of their colleagues, local media said. The arrest and last month's deportation come as both Kenya and neighboring Uganda have been rocked by anti-government demonstrations by youth and opposition activists, though the streets of Uganda's capital were otherwise quiet on Monday. Kenyan authorities on July 23 detained 36 members of Uganda's opposition Forum for Democratic Change who had traveled there for a training course, lawyers for the group said. They were deported to Uganda, where they were charged with terrorism-related offenses last week, charges they denied, their lawyers added. On Monday, 14 other members of the opposition party, including 2 lawmakers, marched through Kampala to protest against the treatment of their colleagues, the Daily Monitor and other media reported. Now we get to the world of sport. Renowned FIFA referee Diana Chikotesha has been selected to officiate the Paris 2024 Women's Olympic football semi-final between 4-time gold medalist USA and Rio 2026 champions Germany. Chikotesha will be assistant referee in Tuesday's match that marks the first time a trio of African referees will officiate a semi-final in the history of the competition, whether women or men's. The match between USA and Germany will kick off at 18 hours at the Stade de Lyon in Lyon. The teams met in the group phase, with the Americans recording a 4-1 win over the over the European powerhouse. Buchara Kabobi of Morocco will be the central referee, with her countrymate Fatima Jamwimi selected as the first assistant, while Chikotesha will be the second assistant. The 2023 COSAFA Best Female Referee Chikotesha has raised Zambia's flag in recent years, having officiated in the final of the AFCON 2023 played in 2024. We now come to this news bulletin, but before we wind up, a recap on the top stories. Former President Edgar Lungu condemns police action in stopping Kasempa residents mining gold illegally. Mushipashi Ward Council happy with progress on the Kabunda Chipya Matanda Road construction. A consent judgment has awarded UPND member Mantha Bushpe 2 million kwacha from the state. Bangladesh parliament dissolved after Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina's shock exit. And Diana Chikotesha selected to officiate the Paris 2024 Women's Olympic Football semi-final. Ends the afternoon news bulletin. We still have the news headlines coming up at 14 hours. On behalf of the news crew at K, I'm Jack Mapembulo. Keep listening to the Lunchtime Show.